Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. Welcome. You are most welcome here. I'm so excited to share with you a recent trip into a cabin up in northern Maine. I did some stitching, we took care of some projects, and I've got some knitting and quilting to share with you. So I'm looking forward to that. Stay tuned. Let's catch up.
Hey, darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday, baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey, come on now and take my hand.
You may remember in further north, Rob and I visited this cabin in the winter. And the roads that we were driving on in the previous footage are the same roads that we skied in on and also snowmobiled in on. So it was time to go in and get camp ready for summer. And this involved a couple different projects. Definitely getting in the screens. It was going to be very hot that weekend, and so we wanted to create some air circulation. We also needed to get the refrigerator lit and going for propane, and as you saw on our way in, there were some trees down, and Rob wanted to cut that up for firewood. So not only did we head out in the truck to do that, we also went to the spring to get water. The camp does not have fresh running water. I wanted to give you a little feel for the trip in here with the GoPro. It is a little bit like a Lord of the Rings foresty feel, and I'm not quite sure I captured it, but it's a very interesting and rough road in. So this pipe is usually used for another camp on the lake, and they hadn't capped it yet with their piping, so we got some fresh spring water before our chainsaw cutting chore. One more chore for me to do before the knitting and stitching could begin, the relaxing and napping, and that was to get the ruby-throated hummingbird feed ready. There really is nothing like bacon, hot coffee, and knitting or stitching or handwork in the morning, looking out over the lake, at least for me. I brought a couple of projects. One is the English paper piecing I had detailed in a couple other of my vlogs recently, and I just continue to build that out. I also brought my marshmallow with me and did some finishing on that. Really love to sit here on the porch. You have a full view of the hummingbird feeders and lots of light, which is key, and wonderful way to enjoy. Here I am resting again, getting away from the bugs, but still feeling like you're outside. This is the Carden by Jennifer Wood. I continue to work on this. I've been really trying to focus on getting this finished, and so I only took this knitting project with me. I'm knitting this out of a 3-ply handspun from Flat Island, which you can check out Starcroft Fiber Mill for those fleeces. And you can see I've finished chart 1 and I have now finished chart 2. Just a couple more inches on that before I can pick up the sleeves. And the texture on this is just enchanting. I am really loving picking it up. It's squishy and I've tried it on a couple times, as you know. The fit is there, so hopefully this fall it will be into the wardrobe. A couple more sessions up at the camp like this. I'm sure it will be done in a snap. We had one last chore to do before we wrapped up our time, and that was to set the trail camera up. We had done this for the winter and caught this otter taking his toilet. I know, I feel kind of bad. He was in a slightly compromised position sharing, but it's such a great video, and we put it up again to see if any other visitors were hanging around. We also got to record our primitive skills knot tying video for our patrons, which was super fun. Rob got to nerd out about knots. And then it was time to go. It was a rather short trip, And we're looking forward to getting back there in June, although who knows how the flies will be. We're bringing our nephew back. We'll be back in August. I really look forward to sharing some more of these kind of slow cabin vlogs with you, primitive skills and handcraft and wildlife. It was really wonderful to see the woodland wildflowers coming forward with like this trillium. I also was able to get video of the yellow-rumped warbler. That was just sheer luck. And then, of course, our hummingbirds, which showed up very quickly after the feed went out. Once we got back, there was some quilting. You might remember I had documented and finished the Orkney Grove quilt by Robin Ruth Designs. And this circle gets laid out on a large piece of fabric. And the last step before you send it off or quilt it, put the backing on, is you have to cut out the back of the circle. It's very heavy, and I guess she decides to do this to reduce bulk. It was a little heartbreaking to have bought all that material and then to be cutting out such a large portion, but I totally understand that that's what you have to do for the design. It was also very nerve-wracking to have put all that work in and then to be cutting around on the quilt. I was petrified I was going to catch the front or snip it or put a hole in it. But luckily, no tragedy ensued. I was able to cut out the whole back, and that quilt is now ready. The backing has been ordered and arrived, and I need to just talk to the long armor about the design for the quilting. So stay tuned. That will probably be coming up in the fall, the whole finished project. I also had talked about the Clava by Miss May, and I started working on this. I am using Wyndham Fabrics Uncorked in these colors of golds and blues. I'm doing 2 rows of blue and 1 row of gold in the middle of the moons, and it has some metallic hues to it, and I'm kind of doing a gradient. I am using a prism dyed fabric for the back in a deep blue, which I believe was from Robert Kaufman. This is the back. I know I had just kind of talked about how doing circles was a really kind of a blood, sweat, and tears commitment. But honestly, using her tutorial to sew the curves and the pies, I found, as I used a lot of pins, I found the process to be manageable and somewhat enjoyable. Once the pinning is in place, I'm able to manipulate the fabric pretty well. And here's a quick little rundown of my process, speeded up, of course. For me, it's all about making sure the centers of each piece are marked and then pinning each end, and then working the fullness of that curve between the center and an end and the center and an end. These blocks are all the same, and you create 2 halves, put them together. Don't be alarmed. My grandmother has always told me to remove my pins, but in this instance, I felt it necessary to use them to stabilize my curve. And then you cut these whole blocks down to create the different crescent sizes. I like to finger press my seam to start, and then I use a dry heat, and then I use steam to set it. She does give you pressing instructions for the seams in the written directions. And so I was able to easily follow all of the elements of this pattern. So far, I've only done the 4 blocks in this light blue, and I'm going to be continuing to work on this. I have a feeling it will come together very quickly. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition. I really appreciate all of the insight and comments that you send my way. I appreciate the financial investment of the patrons of this podcast. Thank you so much. I am looking forward again to sharing more pursuits from the summer holiday with you, which is fast approaching. But in the meantime, wherever you are, many blessings, many joys. Take care.